Welcome, Hoopheads, to another week of King's Court, brought to you by www.sports-kings.com. Last week was episode 15. We were real happy about that. I'm Andy. This week I have with me Frank Santos.
I just want to take this moment to shout out Olivia Pope. I don't know how you have the kind of legendary moves in the bedroom that makes the President of the United States think being the President of the United States is overrated, but shout out to you. I don't know. Shout out to Namdi, too. Namdi's hitting that.
She got the moves like Jagger. And also with us, we have Desmond Born Ready Palmer.
Yeah, man, I want to apologize real quick to you guys. I missed the last few episodes. My laptop is working. Everything is fine. And I want to shout out Mario Chalmers for his performance in the NBA Finals. Didn't get a chance to throw my insults at him last episode, but we're here, so...
And you missed quite the episode last week. Actually, it's doing very well. I was looking at the hits this morning. We're kind of all over the place. I'd like to thank everybody who tunes in. You guys are the best. Listen to us ramble. Listen to us make up stuff. That sort of thing. So we have a pretty good show this week. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Miami Heat. We won't so much recap the finals because I'm sure everybody's kind of sick to death of that at this point. It's been a few days. Frank's got it in his hashtag there, RIP. So let's kind of talk about what the Heat need to do now because, I mean, not only did they lose, they were manhandled. And I know a lot of us have talked about this already. We talked about it a little bit last week. We talked about it on other shows. The Heat kind of already, in my eyes, have been mission successful because they did win 2 times. It wasn't 3, it wasn't 4, it wasn't 5, but they won 2 championships, which, I mean, is more than a lot of teams can say. That's more than teams have, period. I mean, I'm a Magic fan. We have 0, so I'll take one of those if people don't want to call it a success. So let's talk about a little bit about what Miami needs. Where's their next step? What do they have to do? Frank?
I think the main thing that they have to do, I want to shout out Nate Jones. He's one of the best NBA follows on Twitter. He was talking last night about different scenarios with D. Wade. And one scenario that he brought up was, everybody keeps talking like Dwayne Wade's not going to opt out because he knows that he can't get this kind of money, because he's not that kind of player anymore. But what Nate was talking about was that they could, if Pat Riley can convince Dwayne Wade to opt out and take a long-term deal with less guaranteed per year, but more guaranteed money, so basically Dwayne Wade's still getting paid. You're basically paying Dwayne Wade to be a skeleton in years 3, 4, and 5 of a 5-year deal. But now you have more cap. But now you have more cap flexibility. You convince LeBron and Chris Bosh to do, take less money maybe, or even stay the same. But now you have cap room flexibility to do something. This team as is not a championship team. What was funny? I got thinking the other day, what this team really missed this year, and especially considering how well he played elsewhere, was Mike Miller.
Absolutely.
Mike Miller was an absolute great player for them, and I guess I didn't realize it until he left and what he did with Memphis, that he was so important to this team. They need depth. They need youth. They need somebody that can run with LeBron. They need somebody that can take the load off, lead a second unit, whether that's D. Wade or not. Honestly, I think D. Wade's next transition might be the Manu Ginobili role. Plays with the first unit, but he's really the second unit. We need him to key the second unit, be the sixth man. Whether he's willing to do that or not is another story, but I definitely think they need some wholesale changes. I thought they needed them last year, and they didn't do it, and I think they definitely got, I think Shane Battier put it best. They got exposed, and that's what happened this finals. They got exposed for being an old team that was probably a year too late in revamping their roster.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, Dwayne Wade didn't even look like he could take on that Manu Ginobili role at this point. He looks slow, and honestly, speed and athleticism, if he doesn't have it, he can't play the game, at least not at a high level. Desmond, your thoughts? I know this hurts your heart a little bit.
Yeah, man, but I do have to say, I've been saying this for a while, watching basketball objectively and analyzing it in that sense, it was beautiful to watch. I mean, the Spurs were it was almost artistic the way they dominated the whole series. But first things first, Frank, you said that, this team should have made moves last season after winning that finals. I totally agree. And it's weird to say that when you have a Pat Riley in your front office. How did he not envision that this team couldn't hold up going into this postseason run? And mind you, I think we can all agree the postseason run they had before this year's finals wasn't really the gauntlet. I mean, they swept the Bobcats. They got through the Pacers fairly easily in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Nets, even though they were, I want to say, the more aggressive team, the most aggressive team that they played in that playoff run in the Eastern Conference, they still fairly easily got through them. They didn't really get to a tough series physically to drain them until they got to the Spurs, which is what we expected because it's the finals. You're facing the best of the West. So with that said, that was kind of confusing to me. But you look at this Heat team, like you said, they need youth. They need what LeBron James called high IQ guys. They basically want to mirror the Spurs. But the only way they're going to be able to do that is by exactly mirroring the Spurs. And that's Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker taking a huge amount less money so that everyone is able to get paid around them, and they have the Tiago Splitters, the Kawhi Leonards, the Patty Mills, these guys that are coming out of nowhere.
Patty.
Exactly. Draining threes like it's nothing. Mike Miller is sorely missed. He is an unrestricted free agent. It's very possible he may come back. Still has huge ties to Miami. He has talked well about them. And, Memphis is just not really his fit. He fits with Miami because he's just able to come in, get open looks, and just drain threes, which is something they missed. You look at that bench, and Mario Hibbert, as I call him, played horribly. But you would think, all right, if we're bringing in Norris Cole, he's going to give us a bit of a lift. He didn't play exactly well either. I have to get at him. At one point in the series, the 2-point guards were combined 18 points, which is pretty sad when you think about that. There was no defensive lift from either of them. Mario Chalmers usually gives you a lift defensively. Norris Cole usually brings that energy on the perimeter. They didn't see that. Ray Allen is not the – we were talking about him before we started the show. He's not the Ray Allen of old, obviously. He's
Hall of Famer.
He's it's just what it is. And then when you're asking Rashard Lewis to be your second most impactful player because Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade want to take a vacation while Game 5 of the NBA Finals is going on, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. I don't think – I respect Kawhi Leonard, and this says a big deal about the roster that the Heat have. I respect Kawhi Leonard. He had one heck of a finals. And, we've been praising him. You've seen the media all week about, they threw him on LeBron. They asked him to guard LeBron, and he did such a great job. Do people not understand the stats that LeBron still had by himself? Yeah. That's how bad this roster was horrible. We're praising Kawhi Leonard for his job on LeBron. He only held him to like 30 points.
But that's the thing, though. That's what I think. The thing is yeah, and I'm sick of that too because I heard people saying like Kawhi Leonard shut LeBron down, and that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
They're not looking
Kawhi Leonard did the only thing you can do against LeBron, which is kind of hold him, let him get his, and just play good defense, do what you need to do. And I mean, Kawhi Leonard was coming back down and playing good offense against a great defender. Frank, you just had that look.
I would argue that Kawhi Leonard played great defense against LeBron, but sure. LeBron's just LeBron.
Yes.
You can put a hand in his face and he's still going to hit a shot. You can't. The point you guys are making is that you can't hold LeBron down. It's impossible.
LeBron was hitting threes that should not have been made.
Yeah, right? It was like against. It was the same thing happened. Well, not the same thing, but a similar thing. I remember years and years and years and years and years ago, the Sixers and the Lakers, and people were calling like George Lynch the Kobe stopper. And he didn't really stop Kobe, but Kobe was relatively contained for Kobe. And I remember looking at it, and Kobe still got his, but it was you didn't look at the game and be like, yo, Kobe blew that series up. You kind of were like, oh.
To put it simply, the only person that can stop LeBron is LeBron. Like, if LeBron's off, that's the only way he's ever going to be stopped. But to Desmond's point about the bench, the only bench player I would feel comfortable bringing back next year is Norris Cole. I don't think any. I mean, Ray Allen, if he doesn't retire, I'm think obviously can play. But
I'll agree with you on that. I'll add maybe one more, and that's a maybe category. Chris Anderson. They do have the option.
Oh, I consider him a starter, so I guess I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
He is a bench player, though.
And
he is looking forward to free agency, though.
Yeah,
so
he is.
What's he doing?
And I'll make two more points. And Frank, you hit it on the nail earlier, and it's something that actually Kobe Bryant talked to earlier, which was actually pretty refreshing. we talked about the fact that, LeBron even said himself, we won 2 out of 4 championships. I'll take 50% out of, rather than nothing. Andy, you spoke about, the Magic have none. You take just one.
I'll
Kobe
take
Bryant.
I'll
Kobe
take half
Bryant,
of that trophy.
Kobe Bryant, 5-time NBA champion. A lot of people expected him when he was asked this question earlier for him to say, like, no, I want to win as many as I can. He was like, it's actually kind of sad that in the NBA, especially with the fans and the media, that winning one is so jaded. Like, we look at the NBA championship like it's a right instead of a, something that you have to fight for and something that's so hard to get to. It's so hard to even get to the playoffs in the NBA, but we don't really take a step back.
Yo, and if you're there for 4 in a row too, like that's something in itself. I mean,
it is.
I live in Western New York, Buffalo Bills territory, and we watch. I was a kid, but the Bills went 4 years in a row. Obviously,
yes, they did,
and they never won one. And people, they're kind of the butt of every joke. But if you take that logical portion of your brain, you pull it out, like that was a feat. I mean, they ran into some good teams. They gave one away to the Giants, obviously. But I'm getting off track with the football here. Getting to the championship's tough. And somebody, before I forget, mentioned Patty Mills. He's getting like a max contract from the Knicks.
Oh, my goodness.
Tomorrow or something.
This is something both defenses, in my opinion, weren't locked down. The Spurs played great defense, but I don't think it was lockdown defense. I remember earlier
weren't that
in the
good
series,
of a defensive
I thought
team
to myself,
this year.
No, earlier in the series they weren't, but they were good enough to get through that Western Gauntlet.
Sure.
And I remember saying to myself in Game 2, how the hell are there so many corner threes wide open on both teams? Like, it was amazing. Like, every time you turned around, someone was open in the corner. I remember in Game 2, Ray Allen had like 6 open 3-point shots, like wide open, like nobody was in his vicinity in a row. He made the first 3 and then missed the next 3. And I'm sitting here like, how did you even give him the opportunity to hit the next 3? And then on the Heat side, all you see is Danny Green parked in the corner, and you're saying to yourself, watch the switch happen and watch Mario Chalmers follow his teammate's guy. And sure enough, Mario Chalmers follows the other guy, and Danny Green sitting in the corner wide open, or Kawhi Leonard's on the wing wide open, and you're sitting here going, how are there so many open shots? Both teams had spotty defense. It just, for the Spurs, their shots fell, and they did a great job of capitalizing. And if I'm the Heat, you definitely need youth now. You need people that are going to be able to stay with their guys on the perimeter, not get blown off the ball like Dwayne Wade was by Manu Ginobili, who's older than him. And speaking of Dwayne Wade, I just got to get this point in. Frank, your little I don't want to say hashtag there. Is it a hashtag? No, yeah, it's a hashtag. And Andy, you spoke to it earlier. It couldn't be more true. And you guys know he's my favorite player of all time, but there's no excuse for Dwayne Wade to play like that in the finals. And I saw a lot of people saying he could be tired, he could be old. This man sat out 28 games in the regular season.
Including 2 series too. I mean,
I don't think people exactly. Like we said before, the Eastern Conference Finals run that the Heat were on was not the gauntlet that everyone thought, that everyone could think it was. It really wasn't. It was fairly easy for them to get to the NBA Finals.
Absolutely.
Dwayne Wade sat out 28 games, and LeBron James logged more minutes than anyone on that team, and possibly more than, I think he had the second most minutes in the NBA right behind Kevin Durant.
Yeah, KD had the most.
LeBron was carrying that team. If you're Dwayne Wade, and he even said, I felt the healthiest I've ever been. That's mental, and that's worse. If you can't show up in the NBA Finals and your knee feels fine, then that's worse, and is something going on. And like I said,
I think that's probably a little false to a degree. I mean, for him, I think he's lying to us, saying he felt as healthy as he's ever been.
I would hope so. I would hope he's lying.
I mean, Andy and I have talked about this multiple times on multiple platforms. Dwayne Wade just has he's always had the kind of game where once his athleticism went, his game would go with it. He's undersized.
It's the Tracy McGrady.
Yeah, he's undersized, so it's not like he can recreate his game like, say, a Kobe did and just create a post game, because he's not tall enough, he's not strong enough to do that. So I don't know where he goes from here. I don't know what's the next step for Dwayne Wade to recreate himself. Does he become a shooter? I don't know if he can do that. He's never been a shooter. So can he be that guy that stays out at the 3-point line and sits in the corner? Can he I mean, I don't doubt a Hall of Famer. I don't doubt Dwayne Wade can go in the lab all summer and start practicing 3-point shots and come out and shoot 40% from three. Because he's a Hall of Fame player. He very well might do that. I don't think he's going to, but he can.
I don't know. I think Wade's new role has to be come off the bench, cook this team's second unit, and because he can still be the second unit, I'm fairly confident. Even though Danny Green was stripping the ball from him in Game 5, which I don't understand. Like I can't condone that. I guess I never really answered the question either, and I think I kind of agree with Frank a little bit about what the Heat need to do. Pat Riley, in all his genius, needs to go in and he needs to convince Dwayne Wade to walk away from $20 million next season, right, and take that long term.
The season after that,
and maybe we're gonna overpay him either way, but maybe he gets $10 million a season or something like that. And, and you have to give him a long-term contract. You know what they need to do is give him a long-term deal and then amnesty him after a season or something crazy like that.
Can't do that anymore.
Yeah, you can't do it. You can't do that.
They have to get him to take $8 or $10 million, I think, long-term, per year.
They never do that because
they have to talk him into, buy him into this concept because LeBron's already reportedly saying he's not taking a pay cut, and frankly, I don't think he should.
And I agree with you on that one. The report did come out. He said he's not taking a pay cut just to save Mickey Harrison any money. He's only going to do it if the Heat are going to use that money to, basically what we're saying, bring youth to this team, bring talent to this team, and retool. They desperately need it. And when you talk about what Dwayne Wade needs to do, I totally agree with you. He needs to sit back and talk with Pat Riley. But I think it needs to be an organizational thing. I think if LeBron James wants this team to get better, I think if he thinks he's going to stick around, I think the big three need to sit together with Pat Riley, with Mickey Harrison, not just one-on-ones. I think at this point, throw the one-on-ones, throw the individual money talks out the window. If you guys are about championships, then prove it to us. Get the big three to sit down all together, sit down with Pat Riley and Mickey Harrison and say, listen, we want to make this team better. The only way we're going to do that is to opt out and restructure our deals. All three of them have to opt out and restructure their deals for Mickey Harrison to not have to, A, pay the luxury tax, and B, have money to spread around and bring in talent. If one of the three doesn't want to do that, it's the big three dynasty is over. I mean, there's just nothing you can do. If Dwayne Wade doesn't want
to... Just really quick, I think honestly the biggest threat to leave, I think, is Bosh. Because I think... If I'm Chris Bosh, I'm kind of tired of playing third fiddle, especially to a guy that I'm better than now. I don't want to play third fiddle with Dwayne Wade. I'm better than him.
But is he actually tired of it, though?
I think he is. I mean,
I hope he is.
They've really stripped Chris Bosh of his game. He's now a
They asked him to play point guard. They asked him to play shooting guard.
Right. And, that's not Chris Bosh's game. So, I mean, I don't know if this is his mentality, but if I'm Chris Bosh, I'm thinking I'm better than Dwayne Wade, so I'm tired of playing third fiddle on this team. So you're either going to make me the second best player on this team and make me a focal point, or I'm going to go somewhere because I've already proved I'm a championship player. I've won 2 rings with you guys, so I'm going to go get somebody's going to offer me the max on the free agent market. He can get the max on the free agent market. I'm going to go somewhere where I can beat Chris Bosh again.
Yeah, Phoenix. And it's funny that you mentioned that he may be tired of playing second fiddle. Because it may not just be that. It may be in combination of that. He may be tired of being forced to do, like you said, what he usually won't do, which is shooting from the perimeter too much, not having his back to the basket and attacking. And also, he's asked to guard guys 20, 30 pounds heavier than he is. He's asked to, on a consistent basis, guard Roy Hibbert and all these other big centers because the Heat have never truly had size. I mean, they brought in Greg Oden as a project. Obviously, that didn't work out. We all knew that. So, Chris Bosh, as much as LeBron is asked to do on both sides, which is a whole lot, so is Chris Bosh. And the absence of D. Wade just made it even worse.
Yeah, I mean, that team's obviously, I'm going to say it even though we all know it, that team they've asked guys like Bosh to play out of position. That team's just lived off of talent. I mean, mostly LeBron's, but obviously Bosh and Wade have had talent too. I mean, we've seen the spurts from Wade, not as much this season, especially in the playoffs. But Bosh too. I mean, they've essentially turned Bosh into a guy who's guarding centers that are way bigger than him, like you guys just said, which is kind of outrageous. And then they've turned him into like a shooter. How many times do you see that play Spo runs where Bosh is up in the top corner while LeBron drives to the basket and he's shooting threes. I mean, he's become that type of player who can do that. But think about Bosh in Toronto. He's a guy who would get the ball in the same spots as Wade and LeBron. I mean, obviously he would score in different ways, but he would work from outside, work in, or he would post up. I mean, he's just too talented. He can get looks from too many places to be this guy. Final thoughts before we move on.
I think it's. I'm trying to. I don't know if I want to make this bold prediction, but I don't think everybody's going to stay in Miami. I think one of them is going to leave. I think it's going to be Bosh personally, but I think one of them will leave.
Do you think that trickles down and triggers like everything to just go nuts if Bosh leaves?
I think if Bosh leaves, Wade opts in, because I think the only reason he would opt out is to rebuild. So I kind of think it throws a whole monkey wrench in. I mean, I don't know how it. Honestly, I don't know how it works money wise. If Bosh leaves, can they sign another max free agent? Can they sign Melo? I don't know how that works. I'm not going to pretend like I know how the money works in the salary cap, but
I don't even think Melo would want to go there if Bosh leaves.
Yeah. But I don't know if they retool with another max-worthy guy if Bosh leaves. But I definitely think one of them is gone.
Desmond, you get a final thought on this?
Well, I'm gonna save judgment for someone leaving, even though Frank is kind of like convincing me right now. Bosh did say before the series started that he would absolutely stay in Miami, and now he and LeBron James are playing the greatest evasion tactics media in regards to free agency that I've ever seen so far. It's point blank. Pat Riley needs to add youth and talent. The only way that he can do that is if all three want to stay and have to opt out and restructure their deals. If one of them doesn't want to do that, which will most likely be Bosh, like Frank said, the Heat Big Three dynasty is over.
And I sort of feel like my final thought is this. I still get the feeling that Bosh is kind of just hanging out in the corner in the shadows waiting for whatever LeBron does. Because I can only judge you on your past, and you did this before. I mean, Bosh is like one of those guys who has no issue being like, I'm just going to wait for LeBron. Whatever he does, I'm going. Because that's what he did, back a few years ago. So let's move on.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to lie. I had one final thought that I wanted to bring up. Okay. Is that if this does go south, I think you're going to see the disadvantage in getting into business with friends. I think it happens all the time in real life. But I think you might see where these guys don't talk to each other as much anymore.
No, actually, I disagree, Frank. I disagree. I think two of them will stay together because there's rumors that Chris Bosh. There's rumors that LeBron James will bring Chris Bosh or try to bring Chris Bosh with him wherever he goes. So that's already
it's like his pet dinosaur at this point.
What I'm saying is you might have a KG Paul Pierce Ray Allen situation where one of them ends up being Ray Allen. And
that's what I was going to say.
Right.
Is Wade Ray Allen? So does that make LeBron James Super Mario and Bosh is like Yoshi? Is that how the kid
totally does.
It really does.
He's going with them, and they're leaving Luigi in South Beach. So let's move on to the next thing. I figured we would, and that's why we only had 3 topics this week. We just spent about 20 minutes on this, and I knew it was coming. So let's go to the next thing, and this will be a lot quicker of a category, I assume. We got some talkers today. We're like, we've all invoked Michael here.
Yeah, I was just about to say we're only missing Michael,
and we miss Michael.
See, Michael's already such a ball hog that we got to spread the ball out a little bit.
We've become the Thunder instead of the Spurs. So
we're missing our Russell Westbrook.
We are. Oh, that's low. Let's go into some draft talk, and this is Joel Embiid apparently went ham at his workout with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Bill Simmons and others said a few weeks ago that when they saw Embiid in L.A. in that, I guess, private workout. I don't know how it's private if everybody was there. But, and Simmons' first remark was his back is fine. So now the Cavs have worked him out. They still have Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins coming in, I think, this week. So that's something we need to note here. But Embiid looked good. There was even a point where I was reading Chad Ford had said that he, unloaded a barrage of threes. And he was making them and stuff like that. The guy's 7 foot. And people are still saying he's a bigger version of Serge Ibaka, but apparently, that's becoming more true if he hits threes now too, because we know Ibaka likes to shoot.
I want to say that I started that, but I don't have proof.
Is Embiid a lock at this point to go number one from what you guys have read? And like how good is this kid going to be? Desmond.
I like Joel Embiid. I think he's going to be a productive player. I think he's going to be really good. Should the Cavs be in love with him? I mean, workouts are basically what all that he can see right now, other than game film. But don't go totally off of workouts. We've seen this in NBA history with drafts. I remind people in 2003, the Detroit Pistons were set. Reports had them set on drafting one Carmelo Anthony. They were in New Jersey. for that playoff series, and at their practice gym, across from them, was big old Darko Milicic draining threes, and they fell in love with him and decided, you know what, we're gonna go with him instead of Carmelo Anthony.
Tayshaun Prince kind of had influence on that a little bit too, because they just drafted him.
My memo to the Cleveland Cavaliers is: do not fall in love after a practice. Don't do it.
Don't fall in love
at the strip club.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, now, like I said, I do think he can be a productive player, but in my opinion, I just don't think he's what the Cavaliers need right now. They were 11th in rebounds per game last season, which is okay considering that Anderson Varejao was hurt for a while. They brought in Spencer Hawes late. We talked about him before. I think he could be a viable option. He's not going to be your great player down the road that Embiid can be, but I think you can kind of make a sacrifice here. I think you can make a risk. I still think Andrew Wiggins is that guy for them. Defensively on the perimeter, they just have no identity. Kyrie is a lone warrior, in regards to creating and spacing. Andrew Wiggins can be that floor spacer, and I'm not talking about his shooting. Whenever we talk about floor spacers, we think, long-range shooters. Slashers can be floor spacers too, and they can create floor shooters like Kyrie. That's a guy you can get going, get some lobs in there, backdoor cuts. And then defensively, I've said this boldly, and I'll say it again. I think Andrew Wiggins defensively is better than most NBA players on the perimeter already. Like, I don't care what anyone says. He looks like a more athletic defensive version of Tony Allen, and that's a big compliment considering that Tony Allen is one of the better defensive players on the perimeter that we have. I think
he's a lot bigger too. I mean, he's a lot longer.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you get a guy like Andrew Wiggins. Not only is his defensive game going to continue to improve, which is his biggest strength, because in the NBA, if you can create offense with your defense, that's great. I mean, the best player in the game does that, in LeBron James. Not saying that Andrew Wiggins is going to be LeBron James, people. But with that said, he will improve offensively. I still think you need to get Kyrie help on the perimeter in regards to spacing. Get someone that's going to electrify Cleveland. Get someone that's going to, sell a bit more jerseys. That does matter. Give Cleveland some hope. But I think overall, Andrew Wiggins is the player Cleveland needs. I think Embiid is the safer pick, and that's why everyone is so in love with it. But I think
I'm so glad you brought that up, Desmond. That Embiid is the safer pick, because I think that's ultimately why they will go with him, specifically because of the Anthony Bennett disaster last season.
Right.
I think that their front office is just thinking, like, we need the safest guy, somebody that's even if he busts, people aren't gonna like blow us up and be like, these people don't know what they're doing, they don't know how to draft. So even if you take Embiid and he busts, everybody was like, you could get the argument, well, 28 other teams would have taken Joel Embiid with the first pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
I think at a certain point, when you stay too conservative, I thought Anthony, just my opinion, but I don't know. He hasn't worked out. He's a young pup in the NBA. Will he ever work out? We don't know. We don't know yet. He could still be a 12.7 rebound guy and be productive for them. We don't know.
Right.
But I just think Andrew Wiggins, and mind you, Andrew Wiggins is not even my favorite player in this draft. It's Jabari Parker. But I just think defensively, the Cavaliers need an identity on the perimeter. And when you don't have that in the NBA, you suffer. We just saw one of the best teams in the NBA, the Miami Heat, lose because at the two-guard spot, they didn't really have much going defensively. Dwayne Wade wasn't able to stop anyone. LeBron James is busy guarding Tony Parker, so someone else needs to be able to guard Kawhi Leonard or Danny Green or whoever, fly around and make plays defensively. The Cavaliers need that.
Do we think that Cleveland, because, I mean, we don't put this past, executives to kind of blow smoke or make a smoke screen.
Right.
I've heard stuff about this too, read that, maybe Cleveland's kind of playing a game here with Embiid. There's my dog. What are you doing? Get out of here. But maybe they're kind of setting up this smoke screen, because a lot of people are speculating that maybe Cleveland would like to trade back with the Sixers to number 3, and maybe they're hoping they can do that and still let Embiid fall back there,
right?
And also get some extra assets by trading out of that one spot.
Absolutely.
So we don't know. I mean, what if how genius would it be if Cleveland, if Embiid's their guy, and they can somehow wrangle that 10th pick from the Sixers to move back to the 3rd spot and then still draft the guy they want? I mean, that's brilliant if it's something they want to do, and if they're able to work it out, because they've hyped up Embiid so much. And we've seen this recently. Look at Phil Jackson hyped up Steve Kerr, and then he became the most coveted coach in the NBA, even though nobody was talking about him before Uncle Phil mentioned him. I mean, right. Out of control.
Yeah, and to answer your question, that's why I don't think, when you said, is it a lock that Embiid goes with the first pick, I don't think it's a lock, in the sense that I don't know if Cleveland's making the first pick. I think it's a high possibility that Kevin Love gets traded on draft night, and I think Cleveland is a destination that he could go to, and they're probably getting the 1 pick. So who does Minnesota take? Do they take Wiggins or do they take Embiid? I don't know. I don't know who Minnesota likes.
And let's not forget Jabari Parker.
Right. At that point, you're probably looking to replace Kevin Love, so you probably do take Embiid. But like you said, the 76ers, if they trade Thaddeus Young for the first pick, who could replace Thaddeus Young? Andrew Wiggins, right there. Boom. That's it. You're done. So no, I don't think.
Or Parker. That's the thing, is there's 3 really good players up top, and I swear to God, if Jabari Parker's name's announced for the Cleveland Cavaliers on draft night, number 1 overall, I won't bat an eyelash.
No,
he's my favorite player in the draft, but I just think defensively he has a lot to work on. I think immediately the Cavs need defensive help on the perimeter, and Andrew Wiggins is impressive in that area. So that's my main reason for Wiggins going number 1. And Wiggins is my number 2, and not even number 2. It's like Parker's 1A and Wiggins is 1B. And so it's just like that with me. But I agree with you. If we have 3 supremely talented players at the top 3, and Frank, like you said, if Kevin Love is traded, now you got a whole situation here where it's like, man, where are these guys going to go?
Right. It throws the whole thing for a loop.
Yeah, it does, but I just don't think Embiid is the player the Cavs desperately need right now. I think he's the player that they feel safe with. I feel like they feel like there's no way we can fail with him, and at the end of the day, he can be either very productive or a Hall of Famer. So
yeah, and for me, it almost seems like everybody wants them to draft Embiid because traditionally you always want to draft the big guy if you think he's going to be a great big guy, but I don't know if those days exist anymore. Like, I don't know if you need that. I don't know if you take a dominant big guy over a dominant wing. Like, if you feel like they're both going to be great players, like,
right.
Do you take, I mean, if you think about the 2 best players in the league right now, Kevin Durant and LeBron James, they're both Andrew Wiggins type players more than they are Joel Embiid type players. So I don't know if you pass on Andrew Wiggins or for Joel Embiid if you think they're equal.
And then who would you say is the 3rd best? I mean, it's a slew out there, but like it just continues. There's more small forwards. There's more
big
guards.
If you want to say Paul George, Carmelo Anthony,
you're not going to find a big guy.
Right. You're not going to. I mean, Dwight Howard's towards
not
the
anymore
bottom.
though.
Right. No, I said towards the bottom, but he's still in that top 10 range. But even Dwight Howard's not the post up back to the basket guy. He's just an athletic.
Well, I mean, another name that would come up probably somewhere maybe in that 5 to 10 range, I mean, depending on who you are, is a guy like Carmelo Anthony. Right. And, I mean, I think there's a lot of comparisons to be made with Jamari Parker there. I think Parker's kind of a mix of maybe like a Rudy Gay and a Carmelo Anthony. Obviously, his jump shot's not that great. But, I think he's more athletic than Carmelo, not quite as athletic as a Rudy Gay.
I think he could take punishment. I think he could take punishment.
Sure, and he has a great first step. I mean, he gets to the basket well, but there's just a lot of question marks. And
I just think
Frank's point was great about do you pass in this NBA? You know, do you pass on the wing player of the future perhaps for a big guy? Because we've seen, I mean, even the best big guy in the league was Dwight Howard, and he's kind of forgotten about at this point, playing second fiddle to who?
I think that NBA mantra about big men being like, you know, what's best for point guards is kind of fading now. I mean, the NBA is going into a new age. A point guard's best friend is spacing. The only ones that can really provide spacing for point guards to really get it done are wing players. I mean, unless you're like supremely talented and you can do it on your own, like a Chris Paul, where he's going to get you the ball no matter what. He's going to create the floor spacing because he's just that floor general.
Or if your point guard's Rondo. There's not a lot of Rondos.
Right. There's not, or even a Steph Curry, because Steph Curry, he creates offense so seamlessly that sometimes the spacing is created all on his own and then he also has a Klay Thompson on the wing. So it's like they need spacing. They need someone who's either a long-range threat or someone who can slash and bring attention to them. That's Andrew Wiggins all the way. I mean, Jabari Parker, I'd love to see him go #1 overall, but defensively, Cleveland needs someone. They need someone that can create offense with their defense. They need someone that's going to be flashy for them. Embiid is safe, but at the end of the day, I still think this drives it too, and this is why I think the Embiid pick might happen. A lot of people and a lot of reports are, you know, what's the one thing that LeBron James has lacked his entire career? He's never had a true big man. Cleveland is still very much in this LeBron James sweepstakes right now. And maybe I'm just saying, maybe they're thinking that if we get a big man and we couple that with a point guard, that's enough to get LeBron James to come back. You already seen the pictures with like LeBron in the Cavs jersey next to Kyrie and Embiid.
Yeah, I hate that. And Frank, I think what Desmond's ultimately trying to say about the Cavs is that they need more people.
They absolutely need more
people. We don't
people.
believe you.
So I think what we're trying to say is, you know, the age of the wing or the point guard. I mean, point guards score these days. So, and especially Kyrie Irving's probably one of the greatest examples of a scoring point guard that we can make. So he does. I mean, spacing is his friend, and maybe Embiid isn't the right guy there. So let's get, because we're getting time out here. I mean, that first category crushed us. And the second one actually was kind of lingering. I didn't expect that as much. Let's go to this last one, which is I don't think Desmond's got to do one of these yet, but this is the be a GM portion of the show. And we've done the Kevin Love thing. Last week we talked about what to do for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now we're going to talk about a team that didn't make the playoffs but probably should have, the Phoenix Suns. They've been rumored to be trading their two best assets for Kevin Love, which is poppycock to me. Poppycock. That's a new word I use. I like that now. I wrote it in the article the other day, and I can't stop using it at this point. So I was telling it to people at my work yesterday. They had no idea what I'm talking about. But let's talk about our scenarios here on what we could do to kind of turn the Suns around before next season. Not that they really need to be turned around, but to kind of get them over the hump. I guess the way I worded that originally was kind of poor. So we'll go to you first, Frank, and what did you come up with? I know the trade machine.
I am so excited. I'm so excited because I get to debut my Luol Deng plan, which I have for about half the league. I think half the league should sign Luol Deng, Phoenix Suns included. I think they're one of the more realistic teams that are in the market for Luol Deng, money-wise, position-wise, need-wise. I think that's definitely one plan. But I'm gonna have a second plan because that's gonna be my plan for a lot of teams. So I don't want to be redundant. I think a big key for the Suns is actually re-signing. I mean, they got to re-sign Bledsoe, obviously, but I think another guy that they really need to re-sign, who I really like, is PJ Tucker. He's a restricted free agent. He plays great defense, and he brings a toughness to a team that could really. And his game is really molded for the playoffs. Like, he has a playoff type of game where he can shine and basically play good defense on another team's best player and play it well.
He's got a little Caron Butler going on.
You got a little absolutely. One of my other favorite. I love Caron Butler. That's one of my other favorite players. Irrationally, one of my other favorite players. But the big name that I think for the Phoenix Suns, I'm not a believer that the Phoenix Suns need like a superstar. Like, I think Dragic and Bledsoe could be those two best players. They need more of a complementary piece, or more maybe of a third fiddle, which is the guy I'm going to bring up, is Greg Monroe. I think Greg Monroe would be a great fit on the Phoenix Suns. I think he fits their style, the way they play. I think he's good enough to be the second, third option behind Bledsoe and Dragic. I really think that's the player that they should be target. That should be their number one target if they don't sign Luol Deng, because Luol Deng is the man.
Oh, Frank, you're blowing up my.
You don't think?
All right, Desmond, what did you come up with?
I like the Greg Monroe thing. I mean, I think Detroit would match. Just, I'm not sure about that.
I don't think Detroit wants to match. Detroit seems like they're constantly saying things that
Well,
lead me to believe they don't like Monroe.
Stan Van Gundy kind of said he really likes Rick Monroe, so I guess it's kind of hard to know what Detroit will do with new management in place.
I mean, they might be ready to just give it all to Andre Drummond and just get that era going. I'm not sure in regards to the paint, but I like the Greg Monroe thing. If I'm the Suns are one of the more intriguing teams that we have in the league because they're so young and there's so much potential there that they can have an immediate playoff championship contender in one fell swoop, or they can just ruin it all with a series of bad moves. So it's like it's like
Kevin Love. That's how you do it.
Absolutely right. That's a great point.
What was that word you said, Andy? What was it? Poppy what?
Poppycock.
Yeah, whatever that. I'm guessing. Second that, but with that said, if I'm the Suns, obviously you want to re-sign Bledsoe, like we said. They were 29th in assists per game. That has to improve. But defensively, this team wasn't bad. And when you're in the Western Conference, obviously, they actually weren't bad. They were, 13th rebounds per game, only 43. So I think they should go out and get another wing player. I think they should get another wing player. I don't think you should go heavily for the paint. If you're going to go after restricted free agent that they're going to match, I'm not going Luol Deng. I'm sorry, I'm not going Luol Deng. I couldn't even remember that Luol Deng was still in the league. I just crazy that you brought that up.
Oh no!
But,
no!
I think Chandler Parsons is somebody you should go after.
We're fighting.
I think Chandler Parsons is someone they should think.
I really like
I don't know. I'm just saying.
True.
Listen, the guy's a restricted free agent. Houston was very. I want to say they were very adamant about the fact that they weren't going to pick up his option and that they're really, really heavily going to go into getting a star. If Carmelo Anthony decides he wants to go to the Rockets, if something else happens, he's out there on the market. Why not pick him up, get an athletic forward to go in that on the perimeter with Bledsoe, with Dragic, get some more transition baskets going. He's someone that I like for them. They obviously have the means to do it. You just look around. You want to add depth to that team. Trevor Ariza is someone who's an unrestricted free agent. You want to add more depth to the paint.
I think Desmond, you keep cutting out.
I'm sorry about that. But I think
is he cutting out on your end, Frank?
Yeah, he's cutting.
Or is that me? I didn't know if that was me or him, but yeah, you're kind of getting.
Sorry about that,
choppy there.
You're not frozen anymore.
No. But with that said, I'm just saying, guys, these are just rumors. These are just rumors, yeah. But it's coming out. The Suns may make a big play, and they've been intriguing to his team, to his management, for LeBron James.
Bledsoe, here we go.
Eric Bledsoe's a great friend of his. They're good friends. They have the means to do it. I mean, if I'm LeBron James and you lacked perimeter help from a guy that we all agree is dead in the water now, and Dwayne Wade, you had Mario Hibbert, so that didn't work out.
So are you thinking like a straight-up LeBron opts out and then the Suns sign him? Because they could totally do that. I mean, they have the money.
Yeah, they have the money to do it. If I'm the Suns, I would definitely, if any team would love for that to happen. But if I'm LeBron James, it's definitely something to think about because they have a good young squad. They have an impressionable young coach. And Eric Bledsoe is someone who's a good friend for him. Phoenix is a little bit out of the limelight, so all he can think about is really his basketball, even though it's LeBron, so he'll bring the media attention wherever he goes.
That's not all he'll bring with him, because he'll bring Yoshi as well.
Yeah, he'll bring.
They could probably sign him and Bosh.
It would work.
Nike would not allow him to sign in Phoenix. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go straight Jimmy Williams. Shout out to JW, the Blueprint War Room Sports. There's no way Nike is allowing him to sign in Phoenix. The LeBron app cannot prosper in Phoenix. So
it will not.
But that's a rumor. But I think Chandler Parsons is a guy they should target. Houston, I don't know. It's weird. Houston seems like they want nothing to do with Parsons until they absolutely have to have him. which is like the weirdest thing. So I think Chandler Parsons is someone that the Suns should pay attention to, and I think he should pay attention to them because it could work. That would be one athletic perimeter tandem with Bledsoe, Dragic, and Parsons, and he's a guy that can stretch the floor as well with his shooting. So I think they should give it a go.
So I had mine is going to overlap Frank's a little bit here because we're thinking on the same page, I guess, a little bit. I wrote an article about this like a month ago. Just like a top 5 scenario for the Suns, guys they could bring in. I really like the Greg Monroe thing too. Again, we don't know what the Detroit Pistons are going to do, but we've seen this in the past where teams are able to kind of do some. I guess I'm going to call it douchebaggery, where they can. They backload. We saw it with Omar Sheik and Jeremy Lin, and you just kind of, you make a team. It's kind of like Texas Hold'em. You make somebody make a decision, and oftentimes it's a tough decision. And on the flip side of that, teams can do that with Eric Bledsoe as well. So we don't know. Phoenix might be pressured into giving Bledsoe more money than they originally intended to, based off of what other teams may offer him. Frank, we talked about this before the show. You said you think that Bledsoe, might be getting a max deal. I could totally see that. That's obviously first and foremost. They need to re-up with Bledsoe. But I think something like convincing the Pistons to do a sign and trade with Greg Monroe, if it gets to the point where the money is something the Pistons don't want to offer, or they just have decided, I don't think Josh Smith, Greg Monroe, and Andre Drummond work together, all three of them.
It's too much in the paint. It's just
to me, you're not getting out of Josh Smith ever. Like at this point, like you're stuck with him. And if you got to choose between Monroe and Drummond, if it's me, I'm choosing Drummond.
Right.
So this is
Josh Smith is approaching Josh Smith's untradeable contract territory.
He is.
Quickly.
He is. And this is what's led me to my decision. I've decided to go the Pistons sign and trade for Greg Monroe. I don't know exactly what it would be. One thing I came up with quickly was this was kind of to give the Pistons something since, they could be getting nothing. And that was Gerald Green, who, played his tail off last year.
I love that guy, man. He's just such a good
Gerald
player.
Green and then Channing Frye to kind of make the money, but that's obviously something because he has an option. And then they give them one of their draft picks. They have I was thinking the 18th pick this year. The Suns have 3 picks in the first round. And then that relieves some of the salary that giving Drummond, because I don't know what Drummond's worth. I'm not Drummond, I'm sorry. Greg Monroe's worth maybe $10 million, maybe $15 million. That's something to work out there. The Suns do have a lot of money. They're only looking at about $30 million next season without Bledsoe's contract, and we don't know what that's going to be. And then another one I was really liking in there was Frank's going to hate this. My boy, Lance Stevenson.
Born ready.
No.
Especially if you have a move involving Gerald Green, you bring in Lance. Eventually
they definitely need to bring a perimeter player.
A perimeter, and he's a defender. He's a guy who has confidence, and I think you're going to put him in a position he wasn't in with the Pacers, where he has. Think about it this way: when Lance on the Pacers, he has no point guard. That's causing him to have the ball too often. A lot of times, if you put him in this situation, he has Bledsoe and Goran who are both going to run the point, and he doesn't have to have the ball as much. He can become a slasher, or you can put him in spurts with the ball when guys are on the bench. You just don't want Lance being Lance, obviously, but I do like the aspect of being able to shoot the ball, being able to run.
The problem is that Lance wants to be Lance. First of all, you're putting Lance in another position. He has too much. He would have too much influence on that team. All of a sudden, Goran Dragic is going to know what a strip club is at 3 a.m. on Sunday night before a Saturday noon
are
game.
Strong-headed guys.
I
don't think either of those are weak-willed.
He's going to be blowing in the coach's ear and stuff. Jeff Hornacek's ear.
They're just going to be making it rain in the club with a 1 p.m. game the next day. Just Goran was like, I never knew these places existed before. Lance is like, yo, you didn't know? You weren't ready. That's what we do.
So you're saying he's gonna corrupt Goran? I feel like these guys. I think they have good heads on their shoulders. I don't feel like I actually, who I think is a person who's easily influenced is Paul George. I think Lance has done terrible things to Paul George in Indiana. I feel like he's just one of those guys who's like, yeah, whatever, we'll go to the strip club. I feel like the stripper problem with Paul George was probably Lance Stevenson's fault.
Side note, we still haven't found out what went horribly wrong in Indiana's locker room. I still want to figure out what's going on there.
Roy Hibbert, I blame. I really can't stop blaming him enough.
Something
Really?
went down.
That was
something
weird.
went down. I don't know.
So let's I mean we've all given our things. We're running at about 45 minutes at this point. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Like I said, last week's show was highly successful. Couldn't do it without guys like Desmond and Frank and Michael, and obviously myself because I'm here every week too.
Word.
So on behalf of myself, these great NBA minds here on the panel, everybody at the Sports Kings Network, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, keeping us running for probably we have 16 shows. We run for probably about 20 weeks this season. It's been a good time. The news is going to kind of calm down. We'll still be bringing you some NBA action, throughout the off season. We do have things like the draft coming up, free agency, FIBA's this summer too. So we have things. We have people. I want to tell everybody have a great day, and we'll see you guys next week.